What's up, guys? It's been a little while, hasn't it? Yeah, well, I've definitely been busy since I uploaded my very first video essay back in January. Since then, a lot has happened in my personal life. All good things, for the most part. Yeah, well, that was a funny story. That it kept me from making more involved videos like these. If I haven't lost all my followers yet, then welcome back. Or just welcome. My name is Brandon, and I like to make silly videos on the things I like. But for this, I wanted to do something a little different. This will be part of a separate subsection of videos I'm calling Let's Get Serious, in which I review and analyze movies and such, just with less humor-filled dissection. As much as I enjoy making goofy edits and screaming uncontrollably, I also like the more tame and contained review formats. So, as the video title says, I'm going to be taking a close look at the story of Disney Pixar's 2017 animated motion picture, Coco. When I first watched Coco back in 2019, I wrote an essay about the movie for one of my college classes. You know, back before the big bad bug took over, and I was enamored by the plot, its characters, and the general structure in its storytelling. So essentially, this is a video rendition in which I aim to fix and go more in depth with the points that I made previously in my essay. My hope is to breathe new life into my initial analysis and really share with everyone the sheer brilliance of this story. I always wanted to do this kind of thing, and definitely stay tuned for more videos like this in the future. So, without further delay, I hope you all enjoy my analysis of the amazing story of Pixar's Coco. The story of Coco is synonymous with the strum of the guitar, a gentle, sometimes fast-paced rhythm that sends the audience into a world of tradition and family. It's been quite a while since I've been driven to tears after being emotionally touched by a film, until I stumbled upon this masterful plot. I'll admit that I skipped watching a lot of animated films in the late 2010s, for one reason or another. However, without even seeing the likes of those movies, I'd hazard a guess that Coco would still be pedestaled from the reverence I have for its profound messages, presentation, and its sheer relatability. The plot of the film involves a young boy from Santa Cecilia, Mexico, named Miguel Rivera, who simply wants to become a musician, much to his family's displeasure. After Miguel's great-great-grandfather abandoned the family in pursuit of music, music was abolished from their lives entirely. Instead, the Rivera family are all comprised of proud shoemakers. One day, Miguel accidentally makes the picture of his great-great-grandmother and great-great-grandfather, whose face was ripped off the photo, fall off the family ofrenda. Upon picking up the photo, he unfolded a part of it to reveal the guitar that belonged to the famed musician, Ernesto de la Cruz. In an attempt to prove his ancestral link with the star, and his predestined connection with music, Miguel starts to play his homemade guitar before it's ripped out of his hand and destroyed by his grandmother, Abuelita, kicking off the plot proper. In a riptide of emotion, Miguel runs away and decidedly breaks into Ernesto de la Cruz's mausoleum. He strums Ernesto's guitar, accidentally cursing himself to the land of the dead, where he must embark on a journey to find his way home. What is incredibly gratifying about the story is the amount of characterization that was written into Miguel. Miguel's arc is very well established and completed within the last couple of minutes of the film. He's a dreamer, an impassioned guitar player who wants to lead his own life and stray away from the family business. Of course, this creates a literal rupture in his world, a living being being bridged into the land of the dead. Now, what I immediately like about this setup is how Miguel's family consists of a long line of shoemakers. To me, it seems like this background that was given to our protagonist is intentionally allegorical. Being shoemakers, they facilitate movement, and in the context of this film, allow for movement to and from the family. For Miguel, he wants his family to step into his shoes, to see his desire in making strides toward his dream, whereas the family wants Miguel to step into theirs, in defense of tradition and of morality. This movement corresponds with Miguel's growth as a character, something that becomes increasingly apparent as he traverses through the land of the dead. Here, he is free to explore his ancestry and speak to the many who've come before him. However, his deceased family members aren't too keen on music either, prompting him to refuse their blessing to return home and figure out his own way of getting back to the land of the living. After many trials and tribulations, Miguel would learn to accept the importance of family, the importance of love and togetherness over everything that is extraneous in comparison. Scenes such as the tender exchange between him and his great-great-grandmother Imelda at the gated stairway feature some of the best writing as well as scenography in the film that capture this idea.
I thought you hated music.
Oh, I loved it. I remember that feeling when my husband would play and I would sing and nothing else mattered. But when we had Coco, suddenly there was something in my life that mattered more than music.
Miguel, with tearful remarks, explains how he doesn't want to pick sides between his family and his passion. It truly resonates with Imelda, as it also does with the audience, who sense his palpable emotion. Although Miguel, unbeknownst to him quite yet, is misguided. He believes the family should be supportive of his lofty desires. In reality, they're just trying to protect him from becoming greedy and self-absorbed like the great-great-grandfather before him. The scenography here mirrors what happened to Imelda years ago when her husband left with his guitar in pursuit of his musical career. Only able to watch in dismay behind the gate, Imelda sees Miguel trudge off with his guitar in the same way, taking literal steps toward his musical passion over the love of his family. The gate acts as the physical divide between family and career. The verticality of this alleyway shows Miguel's preference of rising to the top instead of staying level, grounded, and humble with his roots. This scene is a masterstroke in relaying how the plot of Coco is sort of a coming-of-age tale, where our main protagonist has to come to terms with his own identity as well as his greatest passion. And I can't go over this any further without talking about Hector. Miguel's primary skeletal partner on his journey, Hector, acted as his downtrodden but still very caring mentor. Hector was on the verge of being forgotten, the ultimate fate of the inhabitants of the land of the dead. Being able to watch and discover the heart and unwavering compassion from this initially mischievous character was remarkable. In fact, the first inkling to Hector's more compassionate nature is found a bit earlier in the film, when him and Miguel visit Chicharron in his dark, lowly hovel. After Hector performs the song Juanita at the edge of the hammock, Chicha's final death approaches, to which he says that the song
brings back memories. Gracias.
Hector in the afterlife is threatened with being forgotten, just the same as Cheech. Thus, the script has these two interact with a sort of brotherly camaraderie, before the ultimate foreshadowing of what's to come in the story. Enter Ernesto de la Cruz, who winds up being the antagonist as well as Hector's character foil. Whereas Hector wanted to return home to his family after realizing his career wasn't everything, de la Cruz didn't care less, opting to pursue fame and fortune however possible. The writers did a great job with the twist here, creating what seemed to be a tried and true story of following one's dreams, when in actuality, it's a prudent tale of not letting those dreams outweigh the importance of family, and especially of morality. These two characters here represent what could have been the fate of Miguel, either becoming crazed and deceptive, or guilty and regretful. Thankfully, Hector here wants to make amends. He's a good man, flawed, but truly good, wanting to be accepted into a family that he unconditionally loves, despite their rejection of him. The toxicity created from Imelda's abolishment of music, out of resentment of her husband, is really the side effect of the veiled fate of Hector, murdered from being poisoned. It's these sort of dramatic connections that makes Coco truly astounding in its storytelling. That being said, Hector and Miguel's love of the guitar and of music in general pervaded through much of the story, and, ironically, becomes a driving force for bringing the family together once again. Of course, the music expressed the overarching theme of family that bound these individuals together. Miguel and Hector's musical prowess and charming banter kept the script engaging, especially since both characters aimed to rectify missing links or broken ties to their families. This made it all the more satisfying when they realized they were indeed related.
I'm proud we're family. I'm proud to be his family!
I'm proud to be his family!
After literally hitting rock bottom, the duo discovered that they were the two parts that made the whole, and as the film entered into its third act, Miguel and Hector's jovial screams would be answered by the barks of Dante, and then by the roar of Imelda's alebrije, Pepita. Pepita is the theme of family given physical, majestic form. The Coco family spirit is represented by this immensely powerful and ferocious creature, immovable and stronger than any force for material acquisition. In a similar fashion, Dante, Miguel's stray dog companion, while not possessing superior physical capability, acted as his loyal guide. The unkempt canine knew who Hector was to Miguel the whole time, and after rewatching the film, it was awesome to see just how much Dante tried to steer Miguel in the right direction, as well as how much he moved the plot along. The dog's name, Dante, may or may not be a reference to Dante Alighieri, a character who similarly wanders into the spirit world, interacts with many shades, and faces numerous obstacles. In the Divine Comedy, Dante was guided by Virgil. Interestingly, here Dante is the guide, sort of flipping the script and perhaps providing a redeeming quality to a rather intentionally flawed character. Now, I understand that Miguel named the dog Dante after the horse in one of Ernesto de la Cruz's films, but I still believe the name Dante is a nod to the Divine Comedy, especially when considering how both these fictional works examine teleology, or the philosophy of purpose or goal orientation. Miguel wants to make his family whole, and Hector wants much the same, desiring oneness with his daughter Coco. Family is the common denominator here, being what is essentially the ultimate goal of the characters in this world. In conjunction with family, there's a thematic presence of memory and being forgotten. In essence, the story spine of Coco is family, while memory, more or less, represent the vertebrae, if you will. The reason the story of Coco works is because it displays how there should be an undying tenacity to those you love and those you remember you loved. Like many traditions, Mexican heritage is steeped within the immense love for family and for togetherness, especially on the Day of the Dead. And in many ways, Coco, through its character interactions and overall narratology, is representative of the human condition of commemoration. Everyone puts up pictures of their ancestors and provide offerings, such as flowers, mementos, or the favorite food items of their deceased loved ones. This wondrous ceremony highlights the importance of memory as it shows us that death does not mean the end. In fact, everyone in the land of the dead knows Miguel, despite never actually meeting him. They were always watching. This is because these individuals are survived by their predecessors, who take great care in keeping their traditions, customs, and memories alive. Yes, death is real. Our past loved ones aren't with us physically, but they're with us spiritually. In memory, they have been given eternal life. It is only when we forget that they truly fade out of existence. I would say the theme of memory is just as important as family, as there's an amazing level of structure and care that went into injecting this theme into the screenplay. From the recurring song Remember Me to the fate that's worse than death, being forgotten. It is for all these reasons that the writers of Coco constructed a phenomenal story. A story capable of roping in a massive audience. When questioned about the overall audience of the film, writer/co-director Adrian Molina responded saying, "We wanted to build it into a story that anyone can access, anyone can relate to, but not at the cost of compromising the integrity of the actual tradition." From top to bottom, that was something that we all took very seriously. The relatability of Coco was rather impressive as a result of the writers accurately and effectively affixing themselves and their story to the Mexican tradition. My enjoyment of Coco is something that remains unparalleled to many of the animated films I've seen in recent history. Its authenticity and story beats struck a chord in me that still remains rattled, even at the time of me revising this script a week after rewatching the film. Coming from a rather traditional family myself, I can appreciate the themes and ideas presented here. I've grown up knowing the importance of familial relationships, as well as understanding my own self-worth without engaging in blatant egotistic behavior. Not only this, but the depiction of very real people, of very real humans in the world of Coco comes across as almost staggeringly accurate to how our loved ones appear and operate. From the carefully computer-generated finger-picking on the guitars to the way that Abuelita delivers a barrage of kisses to Miguel's face, I felt as if I was there, reliving moments in my life with feelings of blissful nostalgia. Miguel's great-grandmother in particular, Mama Coco, an old woman who suffers from a form of dementia, is possibly the most real character I've seen in an animated motion picture. From her hunched appearance in her wheelchair, to the striations of age across her face, to her mannerisms and speaking patterns, it all blurs the line between fictitious character and actual living being. There's a reason why everyone cries at the end of this movie. As Miguel reprises Hector's lullaby, Remember Me, we see Coco jerk her fingers, and with a restored twinkle in her eye, she begins singing with him. The great-grandmother perks up a wide, wrinkly smile that's so endearing and characteristic of our grandparents that we're driven to tears. This sequence is nothing short of beautiful, as we see how remembrance renews life for the living by restoring what was faded in memory. Coco is the ultimate source of all of what the film tries to achieve in its story. The name not only radiates a sort of warmth, but also it represents the individual responsible for spanning generations and interconnecting familial ties. She is perhaps the most important character of the whole film, despite only being in a couple of scenes. The ideas about family, tradition, and memory all lie with this quiet, gentle, and affectionate old woman. This incredible story teaches us to embrace our families, because eventually we all leave in pursuit of our goals and dreams. But we can't let this natural progression cloud our memories, good judgment, and true emotions. We must always be mindful of our roots and maintain the values of personal heritage to ensure altruism and love instead of egoism and hate. And that's not to say that the film discourages living one's dream. No, the message here is simply family comes first. If Don't Live Your Dream was the message, then the family wouldn't have embraced music and had Miguel singing and playing guitar in the final shot of the movie. And, as I previously mentioned, music split the family apart, but it also brought them back together. In essence, it's the same intangible force that made Hector leave his home, and what cursed Miguel to the land of the dead. But, in turn, music bonded Miguel and Hector, and eventually, the rest of the family. Just imagine it. Being able to jam out with your great-great-grandpa. This is the beauty of Coco explained in just this single scene. The idea that reveling in tradition, in a cultural artifact like music, means that we are indeed enjoying the company of our past grandparents, and even the ancestors before them. Because, just as music is eternal, their memory lives on in us, forever.